Okay. Okay, you're cute. I know. I love you. I have a couch right here. She's not like just floating. Hey besties, what is up? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Bridget. Fall is almost here and I'm so dang excited about it. I am so ready for summer to be over, respectfully, of course. I already shared my fall reading recommendations, so if you haven't seen that video, go check that one out. That video is all about books that I've read and that I recommend for the fall. So today's video is all about the books that I want to read this fall, so my fall TBR. Go get yourself a cozy drink and join me for this video because I've got 20 books to talk about today. The first book on my TBR is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This is a cozy fantasy, very low stakes from what I understand. This is also her debut romantasy, but this is a lush cottagecore tale full of stolen spellbooks, unexpected friendships, sweet jams, and even sweeter love. So cute. This one is a Hallmark rom-com full of mythical creatures and fueled by cinnamon rolls and magic. It says the spell shop will heal your heart and feed your soul. That sounds amazing. I'm also pretty sure I have the book on my shelf, but I'm pretty sure there's a sentient snake plant. I'm into it. This book seems like it's going to be the perfect book to like have a cozy morning, evening with. It's just gonna be so cozy. The next book is actually a trilogy, I think. But this is Mistborn, the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. I want to read a Brandon Sanderson novel before the year ends, and I think fall is the perfect time to start getting into it. So I'm pretty sure this is a high fantasy series, and if you have heard anything about Brandon Sanderson, then you know that it's a massive universe and that all of the books are like interconnected, kind of like SJM, except high fantasy. But the first book in this series is called The Final Empire. But this first book is about a gang of thieves that decide that the prophecies in the world or whatever, or wherever they are, of a hero coming to save them can't be trusted, so they take matters into their own hands, planning to use the Dark Lord's own wealth to bribe his armies away from him and take over the empire. But anyway, I'm super interested in reading a Brandon Sanderson, and from what I understand, this is the perfect place to start. Next, I want to read Half-Blood by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I have this one on my shelf currently. Honestly, the book was just really pretty. I'm pretty sure this book is about magical school, forbidden love, and witches? Question mark. So this one says, the Hematoi descend from the unions of gods and mortals, and the children of two Hematoi purebloods have godlike powers. Children of Hematoi and mortals, well, not so much. Half-bloods only have two options: become trained sentinels who hunt and kill daemons, or become servants in the homes of the pures. So this book follows the FMC, who is a half-blood, and she has to fight to be a sentinel, or else she has to be a servant, and she does not want to be a servant. So this follows her story. The next book I want to read is A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. This is a YA gothic fantasy. I've heard a lot of good things about this book. I keep seeing people on social media reading it and really enjoying it. This story follows the female main character, Effie, who believes in fairy tales. She had been haunted by visions of the Fairy King since childhood. So when Mirrodin's family announces a contest to redesign the late author's estate, Effie feels certain it's her destiny. So she goes and does that. I don't know. I love a good gothic fantasy. Obviously this has like storybook and like library vibes, and I'm looking forward to it. Next is Goldfinch by Raven Kennedy. This is a romantasy. This is the last book in the Plated Prisoner series, so it's book number 6. This book comes out September 24th. Mark your freaking calendars. I have read all 5 other books, and I am so excited to get this one, finish the series, and be able to breathe again. Honestly, I can't really get into what this book in particular is going to be about without spoiling the entire series, but the first book, Guild by Raven Kennedy, is really good. It's super fast-paced, it's romantasy, it's a King Midas retelling, and I highly recommend if you are looking for a fun, fast-paced fantasy. I'm also pretty sure these are on Kindle Unlimited. I read them all on Kindle Unlimited. Willow's pushing me. No, not. Oh my god. Well, now I have a Willow. Yeah, so I'm really excited to read Goldfinch when that comes out in September. Next is Stranger Skies by Pascal Lachelle. This one is also a YA fantasy, and this also is part of a series. This is book number 2 in the Drowned Gods duology. The first book is Curious Tides that I read last month. This book comes out November 5th, and I'm so excited to get back into the world again. Again, I can't go into too much detail without spoiling the first book, but I highly recommend Curious Tides. The first book is about the magical college, secret society, student deaths, uncovering the truth about the deaths and magic and honestly society in general. This series has a super unique magic system where everyone's magic, if you have any magic, is tied back to the moon and the tides and all of that. So it's a super fun read, and I'm really excited to get back into that world. Okay, Willow has left us. Let's see how long that lasts. The next book that I want to read is A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. This is a contemporary romance with magical realism. This story follows a literature professor who finds herself transported into the world of her favorite romance novel. I don't know, this one just sounds really good. This is the same author that wrote The 7-Year Slip, and I love that book. I gave the book 5 stars, so I'm super excited to dive into this book. It seems very cozy and just like a nice little romance with a little bit of magic and low stakes, which I'm looking forward to. The next book that I want to read is The City of Stardust by Georgia Summers. This is an urban fantasy / contemporary fantasy. For centuries, generations of Everleighs have seen their brightest and their best disappear, taken as punishment for a crime no one remembers, for a purpose no one understands. Their tormentor, a woman named Penelope, never ages, never grows sick, and never forgives a debt. Tied to a very literal deadline, Violet will travel the edges of the world to find Marianne and the key to the City of Stardust, where the Everleigh story began. This one just sounds super fun. I don't read very many like urban fantasies or like contemporary fantasies, but I'm into it, I'm vibing, I want to find out what happens. Next is Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. I've been seeing this one everywhere. I feel like everybody is reading this right now. I want to hold off and read it when it starts to get more cozy fall, but it's hard because everyone is saying good things about it. So this is a YA fantasy who follows the female main character who is a witch, but she's pretending to be normal and a socialite like during the day, and then at night she turns herself into the Crimson Moth, who is a witch vigilante who rescues her kind from being purged. So this story follows the witch and a witch hunter who she ends up finding herself like entangled with. We find out that he is hunting for her and she is hiding in plain sight, basically. I have heard such good things about this book. I'm so excited to get into it. I also wanted to add that this one has a 4.23 Goodreads rating, so I'm excited. Next is A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. This one is also a fantasy romance. I have had this book on my shelf for a year, probably more than a year, honestly. This one follows the male main character who's brought back to his home isle to investigate the disappearance of girls on the isle. The female main character is the male main character's childhood enemy who end up working together to solve these mysteries. I have also heard really good things about this book. I've just been putting it off, and we are gonna read it, hopefully. Next is Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. This one is also a YA fantasy. This one has also been on my shelf for so long. I have heard nothing but good things about it and just haven't picked it up yet. So hopefully this fall is the time. This story follows a reformed thief and the young leader of an outlaw dynasty who lock wits in a battle that may cost them their lives and their hearts. So yeah, I don't really know a ton, but heard good things, so I'm gonna read it. Next is Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is a historical fantasy. This one is major gothic vibes from what I understand. Also, another that's been on my shelf for a very long time. This book is a brick though. This one is very big. This is a historical fantasy epic that grapples with student revolutions, colonial resistance, and the use of language and translation as the dominating tool of the British Empire. I feel like there's two types of people who have read this book. You either absolutely love it or I don't want to say hate it, but they're people who like absolutely love it or do not enjoy it. And hopefully I'm the absolutely love it, but we'll see. Next is Furyborn by Claire Legrand. This one is another YA fantasy. This one is about two fiercely independent young women, centuries apart, who hold the power to save their world or doom it. I'm into it. Let's read it. Next book is Feybound by Sarah L. Arifi. This one is an adult fantasy. I keep seeing this title everywhere, like in people's videos, at the library, at the bookstore. I don't know. It just keeps sticking out to me. I don't know much about it. According to Goodreads, this follows Yirin, who is a warrior in the Elven army and has known nothing but violence her whole life. Her sister Lettel is trying to make a living as a diviner, seeking prophecies of a better future. When a fatal mistake leads to Yirin's exile from the Elven lands, they are both forced into the terrifying wilderness beyond their borders. There, they encounter the impossible, the Fey Court. I'm down. Sign me up. Next is The Wren and the Holly Library by K.A. Lind. This one is a fantasy romance. I actually just got this one from Fairy Loot last month, I believe. My edition is beautiful, stunning, gorgeous. The FMC breaks the treaty by entering the Holly Library, not knowing that it's the home of a monster. Sounds good. Sign me up. I feel like for every single one of them, I'm just like, yep, sold. Hand it over. So the next book that I want to read is Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. This one is a YA fantasy. This is another that I've had on my shelf for way too long that I want to read it. But this story follows a 17-year-old who uncovers the deeply disturbing secrets of the legendary Hotel Magnifique. From what I understand, Winston has joined us. Oh my god, I love him. From what I understand, the Hotel Magnifique only shows up for a short amount of time. It's a magical hotel that like comes and goes, it disappears, moves to a new place, and then comes and appears. I don't know. It's a magical hotel, but this story sounds super interesting and I got it forever ago and I want to read it. Next is House on the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This one is another YA fantasy, another that I've had on my shelf for way too long. It's about a profound experience of discovering an unlikely family in an unexpected place and realizing that that family is yours. The cover of this one is so pretty. I've heard really good things about this book. I want to read it. Next, I want to keep reading the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber. This is a YA fantasy series. The first book is Caraval, then Legendary, then Finale. I've already read Caraval, next Legendary, but this is about a legendary competition, a mesmerizing romance, and an unbreakable bond between two sisters. But this series is the segue series into Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, which is the real reason I want to read this series. I read the first book. It was good. It wasn't like the best book I've ever read, but I want to get through these so that way I can read the Once Upon a Broken Heart that everyone is raving about. Next, I want to read A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. This is a paranormal fantasy all about witches, vampires, magic, the whole 9 yards. This is a richly inventive novel about a centuries-old vampire, a spellbound witch, and the mysterious manuscript that draws them together. This is currently a TV series on Amazon Prime, which I have watched and I really liked. So if I liked the series, I feel like I'm going to like the book even more, so I want to read it. Also just wanted to add that I saw that The Blackbird Oracle, which is book number 6 of this series, was recently released in July. So it came back up on my books that I want to read because of that release. And finally, the last book on my fall TBR is The Throne of Secrets by Carrie Maniscalco. This is an adult fantasy romance. This is number 2 in the standalone series, The Prince of Sin. So the first book, The Throne of the Fallen, is related. So it's like a standalone series. They're interconnected. Standalones is I think what they call it. But this book is specifically about two rivals torn apart by a dark memory, reunited on a deadly hunt and an irresistible, twisted fairy tale. So this one follows the Prince of Gluttony, whereas the first book follows the Prince of Envy. So this book actually comes out on October 29th. Perfect for Halloween. So that is it. That is every book that's on my fall TBR. Would love to just ignore all of my responsibilities and just read to get through all of these books by the end of fall. But I think that my life would turn into chaos and I would absolutely hate that. So not gonna do that, but let's see how many I can get through. Hopefully a good amount of them. But I think that's it for today's video. Comment down below what you're reading this fall or what books you're into. Let me know if you've read any of these books. What did you think of them? Let me know. Also, if you've made it this far into the video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed so you don't miss out on any other videos. And my Goodreads is linked down below. Follow there to stay up to date on everything that I'm reading. Also, my Instagram is linked down below. That's where you can go stay up to date on what me and the puppies are up to. And finally, I did start a Patreon. So if you liked this video, if you like my content, go ahead and check that out. We don't have a ton going on over there yet. We're trying to figure out what it is we want to offer, but we do have a membership over there if you are interested. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have the best day that you've ever had in your life today. Bye.